Making your own gluten-free bread at home might seem like a challenge, but it is easier than you think. With just a few simple ingredients and some basic kitchen tools, you can create a delicious loaf that everyone will love. With this guide, you will be baking delicious homemade gluten-free bread in no time. Imagine the satisfaction of pulling a warm golden loaf out of your own oven. This step-by-step guide will take you through the entire process, from start to finish. We will start with gathering the ingredients and end with a warm, fresh loaf of bread. You will learn how to measure, mix, and knead the dough to perfection. Let's get started. This guide is designed to be easy to follow, even if you are new to gluten-free baking. We will use simple language and clear instructions, ensuring that you can follow along without any confusion. Each step will guide you through the process, making it easy to understand and execute. We will also include helpful tips along the way, such as how to ensure your bread rises properly and how to achieve the perfect crust. Baking gluten-free bread is a rewarding experience that allows you to enjoy fresh, homemade bread without any of the additives found in store-bought versions. You can enjoy the delicious aroma filling your kitchen as the bread bakes. The best part is taking that first bite of your very own homemade bread, knowing that you made it yourself. So, gather your ingredients and let's start baking. You will be amazed at how simple and enjoyable the process can be. Let's embark on this baking journey together and create something truly special. Before we begin, let's gather all of the ingredients. This step is crucial to ensure that we have everything we need within arm's reach. Having everything ready will make the process smoother and more enjoyable. It's like setting the stage for a perfect performance. You won't have to search for things while you are baking, which can save you a lot of time and hassle. For this recipe, you will need a few essential ingredients that will come together to create something truly delicious. Gluten-free flour blend. This is the base of your bread. It provides the structure and texture. Yeast. This is what makes the bread rise. It's the magic ingredient that gives your bread its light and airy texture. Sugar. A little sugar helps activate the yeast and adds a touch of sweetness. Salt. This adds flavor to the bread, balancing out the sweetness and enhancing the overall taste. Warm water. This helps activate the yeast, creating the perfect environment for it to work its magic. Oil. This adds moisture and flavor, ensuring your bread is soft and delicious. You can also add an egg, optional. This helps bind the ingredients and adds richness, making your bread even more delightful. Now that we have all our ingredients, let's move on to the next step. Get ready to create something amazing. Yeast is a live organism, a tiny fungus that plays a big role in baking. We need to wake it up before we can use it in our bread, just like waking up a sleeping friend. This process is called activating the yeast, and it's crucial for a good rise. First, pour the warm water into a bowl. Make sure it's not too hot or too cold. The water should be warm to the touch, but not too hot. Think of it like a warm bath. Hot water can kill the yeast, making it useless for baking. Next, sprinkle the yeast and sugar over the warm water. The sugar helps feed the yeast. Give it a gentle stir to mix everything together. Now, let the mixture sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. This waiting time is essential. You will see bubbles forming on the surface, a sign that the yeast is waking up. This means the yeast is active and ready to go. Now, you're all set to start baking. In a separate large bowl, we will combine all the dry ingredients. This includes the gluten-free flour blend, salt, and any other dry ingredients your recipe calls for. Use a whisk to mix the dry ingredients together. This helps to distribute the ingredients evenly. It also adds air to the mixture, which will help the bread rise. Make sure there are no lumps of flour. Once the dry ingredients are well combined, we can move on to the wet ingredients. Now it's time to combine the wet ingredients. In a separate bowl, add the oil to the yeast mixture. If you are using an egg, add it now. Whisk the wet ingredients together until they are well combined. Make sure the egg is fully incorporated into the mixture. The wet ingredients will be added to the dry ingredients in the next step. Now, we will combine the wet and dry ingredients to form the dough. Pour the wet ingredients into the bowl with the dry ingredients. Use a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula to mix the ingredients together. Stir until a dough forms. The dough will be sticky, which is normal for gluten-free bread. Once the dough is formed, you can use your hands to knead it for a few minutes. Kneading helps to develop the gluten-free bread's texture. After kneading the dough, place it in a lightly greased bowl. Cover the bowl with a clean kitchen towel. Now, let the dough rise in a warm place for about an hour, or until it has doubled in size. This is called the first rise. During this time, the yeast will ferment and create air bubbles in the dough. This is what gives the bread its light and airy texture. While the dough is rising, preheat your oven to the temperature specified in your recipe. Usually, gluten-free bread is baked at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Grease a loaf pan with oil or butter. This will prevent the bread from sticking to the pan. Once the oven is preheated and the pan is greased, you are ready to shape the dough. Shaping and placing the dough. From bowl to baking pan. Punch down the risen dough to remove the air bubbles. Then, shape the dough into a loaf. Place the loaf in the prepared pan. Make sure the seam of the loaf is facing down. This will help the bread rise evenly. Cover the loaf loosely with the kitchen towel and let it rise again for about 30 minutes. This is called the second rise. Baking time. The transformation to golden brown. Now it's time to bake the bread. Place the loaf pan in the preheated oven. Bake for the amount of time specified in your recipe. This is usually around 45 to 55 minutes for gluten-free bread. To check if the bread is done, insert a toothpick into the center. If it comes out clean, the bread is ready. Once the bread is baked, remove it from the oven and let it cool in the pan for about 10 minutes. This will help the bread to set. After 10 minutes, carefully turn the loaf out onto a wire rack to cool completely. Cooling the bread completely will help it to slice more evenly. Once the bread is cool, you can slice it and enjoy. Savoring your homemade gluten-free bread. Congratulations! You have successfully baked your own gluten-free bread. Now it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Slice the bread and serve it warm with your favorite toppings. You can enjoy it with butter, jam, or your favorite sandwich fillings. Making your own gluten-free bread is a rewarding experience. You can enjoy the delicious aroma of freshly baked bread in your home. Best of all, you can savor the taste of your very own homemade gluten-free bread.